Hello, and welcome to number 4 of Review for You. Today we're gonna try Rising Crust Great Values Pepperoni Pizza. We are gonna set the temperature at 400 degrees and bake for a whopping 20 to 22 minutes. Out of the box, we have it looking like this. Looks to be a great value. It's out of the oven. Welcome our judges this week are Faith with her long flowing hair and Tommy, this new guy with his, he got a haircut. Our great value pizza. How much of a great value it could be. All right, how do we feel about this mouth feel?
I would give it a joyful rating. It was good.
And I would give it a 10 out of 10 because it was really good.
How about our ratio of crust sauce to cheese toppings?
I'm going to say uncertainty because the pizza was delicious, but there was no cheese.
And I would give it a confused face because it was very strange that the cheese was just not really there.
The cardboard feel. How did it taste like cardboard? Do we get a rating today?
No.
No rating?
No. It was not like cardboard. It was good.
Ooh, interesting. How are we going to relate this to our biblical people?
I'm going to say Jesus would preach about this pizza in his sermons.
And I would say that Moses would part the Red Sea for this pizza.
There we have it with our great value pizza. Apparently, it's great value.
Back to you, Carl.
So they keep on trying to do this stuff in order to make it more and more difficult for me to come up with something to talk about. Well, after some thinking, I thought of something. Their conversation about the overall taste of this pizza was fascinating because they said that the pizza tasted pretty good, but it was lacking cheese. It was lacking something that they were really craving. And as I thought more about that, I began to think of the way that it's so easy to have something that's good and to really just want more. I started to think about the Israelites when they're traveling through the desert with Moses on their way to the promised land, and how God, he literally gives them food every single day. He gives them this thing called manna. When the dew of the evening, it makes everything wet on the ground, and when it would dry up, what would happen, they'd have these little things like coriander seeds pop up, and that was called manna. And they'd take this manna and they would crush it down in a mill, or they'd crush it down in a mortar and pestle, and they would take it and they'd boil it all together, and what it would end up tasting like is some sort of cake made with olive oil or something, or mixed with olive oil. And to be honest, it sounds pretty delicious. I think of eating bread with olive oil, and it's really a treat for a lot of people. But it wasn't enough for the Israelites, this special food that God was giving to them in the wilderness. And so they complained. They complained to Moses that we're not getting enough, we're hungry, we want meat, Moses, we need meat. And so Moses, he complains to God, and he talks to God about it. And God, he's just outright annoyed with this. And so he says, here you go, Moses. Tell the people to get ready for tomorrow. They must be set apart as holy. They will eat meat. I, the Lord, heard them crying and saying, if only we had meat to eat. Were we better off in Egypt? So I will give them meat. They don't eat it. They won't eat it just for 1 day or 2 days or 5 or 10 or 20, but for a whole month until it comes out of their ears and they're sick of it. This is because they rejected the Lord who is here among them and cried in front of him, asking, why did we ever leave Egypt? That's how bad they wanted this meat. And so then the Lord sent a wind from the sea that brought quails and dropped them all around the camp. There were quails on the ground about 3 feet deep, and as far as you could walk in a day in any direction. And all that day and night, and all the next day, the people went out and gathered the quails. No one gathered less than 60 bushels. Then they spread the quails out all around the camp. And then they ate. And God wasn't happy with them. because they weren't happy with what God had given to them. Even as God said, you must be set apart as holy. If they really would have been set apart as holy, then they would have been okay with the manna in this situation. You know, we've come to a point where it's pretty easy to be upset with our current situations. We don't want to be where we're at right now. We don't want to be stuck in the ways that we are, and yet we're still called to be a people who recognize the way that God is taking care of us, even in the midst of our own wildernesses. And even while we do hope for a day when we get to, metaphorically anyway, eat meat again or live lives the way we once did, we're called to be a people who recognize the way that God's taking care of us right now. And I know it's not easy, and it's not probably going to get any easier. But if we're able to recognize the way that God's blessing us, it's not for nothing. Friends, God is taking care of us day by day. If you notice anybody who needs anything, or if you need anything, reach out to us, because we're called to take care of one another. And we can do that. Thanks for joining me today.